Hey everybody, and welcome to Meals with Melissa, where I come up with healthier options of the foods that you love to eat. Now, I apologize, I had some massive technical difficulties this week and last week. Really trying to get a new setup. It's just, not happening as fast as we'd like it to, but we're working on it. It should look super professional here soon. But, got a great recipe for you today. We are going to do almond flour waffles. Now, we've been wanting some waffles for a long time, but of course I'm gluten-free, so that makes it really tough to have something that's semi-healthy and that isn't like super sugar and carb dense. So we're going to go with this recipe that is super easy. It really doesn't take long to do. There's just a couple extra steps and a couple of different ingredients that you're going to want to use, but they're really easy to find at your local grocery store. So we are going to start with 3/4 cup of almond flour. Now this, again, I always make a half batch because that way I can make more than one batch, try it out, see how things roll, and then go from there. So 3/4 cup, again, half batch of almond flour, and to that I'm going to add 1.5 tablespoons of coconut flour. Now the great thing at my house is we actually have a lot of this stuff on hand because we use it. And it's a little more expensive, but the benefit is that we have it when we need it. And I don't necessarily like to go shopping for all this stuff. So 1.5 tablespoons, I came prepared, of coconut flour. I actually have quite a bit of coconut flour, which is awesome. Coconut flour is a little more expensive than almond flour. Now, you cannot substitute one for the other. It doesn't work that way. They absorb differently. So you'll want to use what you're supposed to, or at least figure out what different ingredients you're going to have to add to take care of that. All right, to that I am going to add, I'm checking my recipe because I was a little flustered this morning. So to that I'm going to add some monk fruit. Now, this is granulated monk fruit, so it's a little bit different. Normally I use a lot of liquid stevia because it's easy. I like the flavor. I'm used to it. It's easy to find, but we're going to try this one today just because it's what it calls for. So we're going to use 1 tablespoon of monk fruit and mix that into, only if I can get it open. It's just par for my morning. It's been fun. All right, let me try this a little differently here. See if I can get it. There we go. All right, so 1 tablespoon of monk fruit, and we're just going to mix that together. Kind of throwing the dry ingredients in there, and then we are going to put some eggs in there, but not whole eggs. So keep that in mind. I've actually got that prepared already. All right, so I'm going to mix that together just a little bit, and to that I'm going to add some baking powder. That's our leavening agent for that. It helps it to rise. Right, now don't be surprised, the almond flour of course is a completely different texture. It's definitely more nutty because it's made of almonds, and it's not as fine. It doesn't look anything like actual regular all-purpose flour. So we're going to add a little bit of baking powder. We're going to add 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, super easy. Okay, there we go with that. Mix that up, and a little bit of salt. So let me find that over here. All right, we're gonna do 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Just give it a little bit of balance, right? You don't want anything too salty or too sweet because otherwise it doesn't taste right. So we're gonna add that, mix it up. Okay, now before I even got started, I actually separated 2 eggs. Right? I separated them, and just for time purposes, I actually already whipped the egg whites, the 2 egg whites, into stiff peaks. So I just used a mixer, mix that into stiff peaks because again, that's going to help it rise. So that's ready to go here. We're going to add that in just a second. I'm also adding 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Okay, so I'm going to add that in, start mixing that. So to that, I'm also going to add 6 tablespoons of almond milk. Now, you could also use some other options like oat milk. Not a fan of soy milk, but if that's something that you need to use, by all means, use it. We tend to use the unsweetened vanilla flavor. That's our favorite. I also use this as coffee creamer, so all-purpose here. All right, so 6 tablespoons. Right? It's easier than having the amount in cup measurement that it was supposed to be. So 6 tablespoons it is. 3, 4, 5. One more. All right. We're also going to add a little bit of vanilla extract. So we're going to do 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we're going to mix this really, really well. Now, meanwhile, I actually have this cute little over the years, we just keep losing our waffle makers. So instead of buying a brand new big one, how cute is it that they now make these little tiny ones? So you can make just little individual size waffles for your kids, whatever works. Makes it super easy. I just like that idea. So now normally I would mix this with my hand mixer, but because I've moved all over the kitchen this morning, it is not in my reach. So for this moment, I'm just gonna mix this with a spatula. So makes it really well. Again, realize that the texture is gonna be completely different than you're used to. It's just not gonna be the same. Over the time, you get used to it. One of the biggest issues with people is when they get really super familiar with sugar and processed foods, it's really difficult to switch into healthier versions and healthy ingredients because you're so used to the addiction of the sugar and the things, they make them hyper palatable. They make it addictive so that's what we want. We want to go buy more, right? So over time, like vegetables to me have become super sweet because I don't eat a lot of sugar. And when I do it, it's just not a lot because, of course, diabetes does run in my family. So there we go. That's actually mixed pretty well here. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to add are my egg whites, right? So I'm just going to fold those in. I don't want to mix those with a hand mixer or any sort of electric mixer because what it'll do is it'll deflate the egg whites, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to mix it again with my spatula. Fold it in. It'll just take a second, and then I'm going to use my cute little waffle maker. Now, really quickly, I want to talk about toppings. So, of course, this is more of a keto version of waffles. So, if you're running one of those diets, not the biggest fan of that, but I'm very aware that sometimes there's a necessity for that. But because I don't want to add any excess sugar, the toppings, definitely we're already using butter. By the way, you don't have to use butter in your recipe. You could also use an almond butter, a coconut oil, a peanut butter. Definitely watch the sugars because again, that can be a problem. A lot of people look at the label and it says, 0 sugar, and they don't realize if they look at the ingredient list, there's like 5 or 6 different types of sugar. You just have to read the ingredients to know that they've broken it down in a way that creates a loophole. So, all right, I've got my little waffle maker heated up, so I'm just going to spray that really quick. I'm not a huge fan of aerosol olive oil, but for all intents and purposes of what we're doing today, we're just going to use that. So I'm going to just give it a little bit of a spray, because of course I don't want it to stick. You don't ever want it to stick. Pans, whatever. And you do have to be careful with non-stick pans and things like that because a lot of times what's on it comes off as you start to use your spatula or your scrapers, and actually you can get that in your food and it can be kind of toxic. So keep that in mind. Now again, different texture than normal. So I'm just going to actually use a spoon to scoop this just to make sure that I get enough. And then I'm going to cook it until it is coming up off the waffle maker. Now, believe it or not, there's actually a lot of recipes for keto style waffles. There's also chaffles, which is like a cheddar cheese waffle, so you can make it more savory. Close that really quick, and light will turn off when it's done, so we'll see how it looks. But there's a lot of recipes there, so if this isn't quite your style, you can go on there, you can find something completely different that add a few different ingredients. My biggest issue with choosing a lot of sugar-free options when it comes to recipes is sometimes it requires things that I don't have on hand, like xanthan gum, or soy lecithin or something weird that I don't necessarily have on hand, or something that I don't agree is super healthy as well. So again, we're trying to make the healthiest options that we possibly can. That's why we do what we do. And honestly, if you work on this with your kids and your family, eventually they will get used to it and it will actually taste better to them than the other garbage that they get everywhere else. And really our biggest issue right now in our country is that we are overweight, we are unhealthy, and everybody should count themselves as beautiful. I am absolutely not fat shaming. I have been fat myself, I've been obese. What we're trying to do is create a healthy lifestyle and healthy, happy people. So keep that in mind. It's more about our health and avoiding illness and disease. All right, so pretty quick, it's popping up. It's already popping up. So it's going really well here. Oh, it's almost done. It's totally almost done. Let me grab a plate so you can see what it looks like. And we'll be done with that. So it was actually really super easy. Honestly, the hardest part was actually getting my equipment to work today. Again, working on some new equipment in a new studio, so keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to, just a second here, I'm just waiting for the light to pop off. So toppings, okay, so we talked about butter. You can use almond butter, again, watch the sugar. I actually have some of the maple monk fruit syrup. They do make, there's multiple forms of syrup that are sugar-free. You just have to really pay attention to the ingredients because they're not all created equal. You could also use a sugar-free whipped cream. The can, again, pretty awesome. We threw some nuts on ours last week. There's just a bunch of different things that you can do to make them taste great, and they don't have to be unhealthy. So, all right, the light just popped off. Oh my gosh, that turned out so good. I probably would cook mine a little bit longer. I like mine a little crunchy. So, and this one is not as crunchy as I would like it to be. But you know what? I'm just excited that it's turning out the way I would like it to. So throw a little bit of butter on there, a little bit of my monk fruit syrup, and we are good to go. So I will post the recipe down below. Be sure that you tune in to all of Melissa, Meals with Melissa, because I come up with great recipes. I'm trying to make it creative and taste good. You should absolutely jump onto Fillmore Fitness on YouTube and subscribe to my channel, because I've posted everything I've ever done on there. You can go through there, find the recipes, check them out. Let me know what you think. If you like the recipe, if you have a great recipe that would work, pass it on, because we want to share this with everybody. We want to have a great lifestyle, healthy lifestyle for everyone. And tell me what you think. And if you have any questions, please feel free to message me on Facebook Messenger. But definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and that way every time something new pops up, you will see it. And have an incredible week, you guys. January's over. It's on to the new year. Have a good one. Bye.